Our position is the working class is ours, the whole working class, and we can't leave them to the fascists. It is a debate, meaning, for example, in the docks in Antwerp, there's a lot of people, they're hesitating between fascists and our party. Fascists in Belgium still strong, and some people can't understand how can you hesitate between Marxist party and a fascist party. And it starts with rage. It starts with listening to people, and we can understand the rage, and the fascists will use the rage to get people angry, to immigrants and down the ladder. We will use the rage to enforce people and to make people look upwards to the billionaire class. That's the difference.
Right now in the UK, the Green Party under Zack Polanski is surging. But if recent years have taught us anything, it's that moments of great opportunity don't always last, and that parties which explode into life can just as fast end up fizzling out. The Workers Party of Belgium takes a very different approach. Now, I know there's something of an album track in left-wing politics. They're not super well known in the UK. But in Belgium, they've got 15 parliamentary seats. Not bad for a bunch of out and proud Marxist-Leninists. How have they done it? Well, by growing cautiously and deliberately. They run community health clinics, they organise locally, and they impose strict internal discipline. What they have is a party that prioritises strategy and unity. But is it able to move fast enough to meet the overlapping crises of the 21st century? I'm joined by Peter Mertens, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Belgium, aka the PTB. We talk about democratic centralism, how to stop middle-class people, like me, from taking over left-wing parties, and just what it is that politics should learn from football. I hope you enjoy the interview. Peter Mertens, thank you so much for joining us on Downstream.
Thanks for having me.
So for people that aren't familiar with the Workers' Party of Belgium and your role within it, could you quickly describe it?
Yeah, I'm Peter Mertens. I'm the General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Belgium. We are the fourth party in our country of 15 people in the federal parliament. In general, we have 10% in Belgium in the election, but in Brussels, we are the biggest party, and in Antwerp, where I live, we are the second party.
So and you're Marxists?
Yeah. And we are a party for socialism, a Marxist party. Proud to be Marxist, yeah.
Well, we're definitely going to get into all of that. You are also a sociologist by trade. You also write about politics and the political moment that faces us as socialists, as leftists. And I was reading Mutiny, which describes not just the crisis of the present moment, but the opportunities that are contained within the present moment. And you say that class is back. And I suppose that's the starting point. In what way is class back? And is the way in which class is back, is that different from class in the 20th century, class in the 19th century?
Yeah, I think class is back, not only on an objective scale, but also subjective, because objectively, I think class was never gone. It was maybe gone in the media and gone in the minds of people, but not in the hearts of people and not in the reality of people. So now, since the 21st century and since the COVID crisis and then the inflation crisis in 22, the class articulation and the subjective knowledge that we belong to the same productive class is coming back. In France, there was a lot of strikes. There was a big striking movement in Italy. We saw it even, I think, in 22 in Britain with the Summer of Discontent. That was a lot of industrial action. Now, it's not the same like in the 19th century. We don't go back in history. It's not a romantic vision about this large industrial working class living in the same areas, etc. That obviously changed, but people selling their labor for money, that's still the base of this system. So we don't live in a post-industrial society, neither in Britain, neither in Europe. It is still constructed around this salary class, this class that is selling labor for money.
I mean, one of the things that's been discussed a lot on the left is that the left finds itself strong amongst downwardly mobile graduates who have to sell their labor and they're part of either a salaried class or a super precarious freelancer class, but they're weak amongst the industrial workforce, what people might consider the traditional working class. Is that something that you've been seeing in Belgium?
Yeah, but we're trying to combine too. There is a lot of discussion also in Europe, in France, for example, also in Belgium. We don't want to be a big city party only, because the first thing you described is mainly in the big cities. People who studied in big cities and stayed in big cities and become precarious people, etc. Also hyper diverse working class. Obviously, we are more strong in Brussels and Antwerp, in the big cities, but we want also to reach people in the urbanized areas. It's not only in the cities themselves, where there is more the classical industrial class. And we have to unite, because in our point of view, we can't leave the classical industrial class to the fascists. They try to divide the classical working class with this new urban precarious class. And we're trying to having another strategy to make links between them. It's not easy, but our position is the working class is ours, the whole working class, and we can't leave them to the fascists. It is a debate, meaning, for example, in the docks in Antwerp, there's a lot of people, they're hesitating between fascists and our party. Fascists in Belgium still strong, and some people can't understand, how can you hesitate between Marxist party and a fascist party? And it starts with rage. It starts with listening to people, and we can understand the rage, and the fascists will use the rage to get people angry, to immigrants and down the ladder. We will use the rage to enforce people and to make people look upwards to the billionaire class. That's the difference.
One of the things that you argue in Mutiny is that the crises of inflation, the crises of that wave of industrial action that you described here in the UK, the crisis of the climate, they expose the system, but they don't automatically produce left-wing outcomes. How is it that the, post-2008, post-financial crisis, era of neoliberalism dragging itself across the stage like a zombie with no legs, why is it the far right has been able to benefit from that in a way that we haven't necessarily?
There's different reasons. I do think so. First of all, I think there is a decline of the traditional parties. So there was after World War II, there was this 30 years going upwards everywhere in Western capitalism. People forget the main reasons for that, meaning there was a Soviet Union at one hand, so capitalism had needed to give to the working class some things, because otherwise there was the alternative of the Soviet Union. But also there was a super exploitation of the global South, and this between 45 and 75. There was some progress in capitalism in Europe, all over in Europe, for these two reasons mainly. That then the Soviet Union disappeared, and then the offensive of capital was very aggressive. And so now the classical social democrats are disappearing, because they have no grains to give to people anymore. And there is a gap that's filled in by the extreme right parties. And I think the main thing is, if people don't have a perspective and there's a rage and they will cope with it on an individual level, it's bitterness. And the fascists, they thrive on bitterness of people. As in our experience and our perspective is, the rage is the same, but instead of bitterness, we will try to give people hope, to let them work together, etc. And we were seeing that there was a lot of experience of working class organizing that wasn't there anymore. There was nostalgia, there was tradition, there was routine, but the creativity to organize actual working class people today in the 21st century in people's quarters and also in the workplace. We need to reinvent all these things together, because only in a collective force we can make some progress. And also, at the end, I think people want to mobilize to change it all. not only the small things. And so the combination, that's dynamics and also a dialectics, like having a struggle for pensions, but at the same time having a struggle for socialism. Because I think a lot of people, they feel this system is rigged, this system can't survive. There's something more globally going wrong, not only in the United States, not only with Keir Starmer here in Britain, but not only with the war against Iran. And so before there was this perspective of mobilizing people to a new future, a better future, a future for the working class, a socialist future. It's a big idea, and I think we need to reconstruct this bigger idea of a future outside of capitalism.
How do you do that in a way which isn't just academic? Because in my head, I'm thinking about my brother-in-law, white working class guy, works in a factory, in a machinist job in a factory. And where me and him completely agree is that both of us think that it's no longer the case that if you work hard, you can have a good life, right? There's a fundamental unfairness. But if I was to say what we need is a socialist future and we can do this and we can organize together, he'd look at me like I was mad.
Yeah, I think the other way around, we are seeing also people. I have some nephews at the docks in Antwerp. Like how it's going today, it can't go forever. This system is at the end, and also the pressure on people, physically, mentally, the 24-hour economy, the way kids are raised, the way time is not available, the way we look at nature, the all these kind of things. I think a lot of working class people, they are agreeing with the fact that how it's going today, we can't have that for the next generation. And so the question arises, what's the alternative? And then I think there is a socialist perspective, a goal worth to fight for, and that's important, I think. And then in our case, for example, there is you have to build some trust, and that you can, I do agree, that's not an academic thing. Building trust in working class people is by doing things, not by talking, by doing things. We have medicine for the medics for the people, free healthcare systems in 11 cities of our party, where medics and nurses, etc., have free healthcare, good quality healthcare in our country, and so people trust us because we are doing this. There's a little bits of socialism in Belgium we are constructing, and so they say, okay, this is serious people. Maybe we don't agree on everything, but they are doing things. We are waging also small actions on public bus stops, on public healthcare systems, and having some victories, small victories, but I think building trust in organizing people is by doing things. And so you have to combine both, I think, and being a doing party and then try to offer a perspective.
I mean, my understanding of the Workers Party of Belgium and one of the really important principles of the strategy is that you say working class people don't trust politicians, they don't trust political parties, and that's for a really good reason. So before I come along and I ask for your vote in the election, I have to have demonstrated my usefulness to you before I ever ask something of you. Is that the core of the idea?
No. The main goal for us is not to have vote. Of course, we will ask the vote of people, but that's not the main goal, and that's not the main reason. The main, in our statutes is even written, we are not going to solve the things for you. We will try together with you to organize ourselves to solve the problem. And so the emancipation is the main thing. And we will try to involve people in small actions in their neighborhoods and in bigger actions. Now there's a 14-month strike movement in Belgium against the government. So there's a big action, but it's also small actions, etc. And so we try to have people, to empower people by organizing them, and it works.
And when it comes to something like health clinics, medics for the people, is there also an element of it which is you have to bring the culturally middle class part of your coalition into contact with actual working class people? Otherwise, it is going to be a talking shop.
Yeah. It is everywhere. Also of course, the healthcare in the medics for the people, because obviously most of the medics students, this middle class, then they could afford a study of 7 years, etc. But this kind of medics that stay with us, it's pure gold. There's really good people. They are not bourgeoisie. They are living in the working class areas. They are not living in another area. They are living amidst their patients, etc. And they are working like that. And so all our cadres are living in working class areas, and they have contact in their neighborhoods. And everyone knows, for example, that all the cadres and the responsibles for the party and the medics, we live on an average working class salary. Everyone knows it. So we are, like, I'm in parliament, I get €8,000 a month, which is crazy amount of money, but I live on 2,400 euro a month. The rest is for the party, and everyone knows that. Some people say you're crazy, but we are saying if you don't live like you think, you will arrive thinking like you live. If I live on €8,000 in 1 month, in 1 year, in 2 years, my mind will be otherwise than now. Now I'm not poor, I'm not rich, but I'm not poor at all. I live on €2,400. It's literally the average working class salary in Belgium, and everyone knows every cadre and responsible and medic for the people lives on that. And so we are not to fill our pockets, because that's another critics. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're going in politics because of the nice job and to fill your pockets." And I think everyone knows. In the Workers Party of Belgium, it's not like that. If you want to have a fast career and fast money, you can join us, but you won't become rich in the party.
Okay, but to play devil's advocate, you might say, well, it's very easy for you to take on a worker's wage when being a member of parliament is high status. There's psychological compensation, even if you don't accept the money. You feel really good about yourself. People treat you like you're important.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of discussion also in the party about our goal is not only to have the decisions changed in the parliament. Our goal is to construct a counterforce in society, because the real decisions are not taken in the parliament. Maybe it's taboo to say so, but it's really so. The real decisions are taken in places like in multinationals, the energy multinationals, and so they decide about the energy in Belgium. It's not in the parliament. The parliament and the government, they follow what the big companies like Suez are saying about energy policy in Belgium. And so we are trying to construct a counterforce to the parliament, meaning also that our parliament members, first of all, the decision of the parties is not taken inside a parliamentary group. It's but inside the democratic elected things in the party, like the National Council of the party. Secondly, our parliamentary work is just a megaphone for the struggle of the people. And we say council, street, council, street. That's our, we start all the problems on the street, we're taking it to the parliament, and then decision, victory or not victory, we're bringing it back to the street. That's our vision. And thirdly, also our parliamentary members of parliament, they don't have more than this average. And so inside the parliament also, you're not a king, you're not a queen inside the party. It's not so that, like, if you have a local branch, for example, Liège, etc., the ones who are elected to lead the branch, they're the leaders of the party in Liège. And then maybe the parliamentary member can't come to the meeting, and he will be announced to okay, member of parliament of the party, etc. But he's not the king and the queen and all this kind of... If there is some queenish or kingish behavior inside the party to look down to other members, it will be discussed. Obviously, it's a struggle. I'm not going to romanticize, but we are really aware that, yes, all this parliamentary system is to get some political elites, and we don't want it neither in our vision of society, neither in our party.
I wonder what you think about this, which is Rutger Bregman's book, Moral Ambition, sort of says there are all of these bourgeois people who work for big tech or finance or fancy law firms, and they want to do something politically meaningful. And so what you've got to do is give them something useful to do with their time. They should go and they should work for a climate charity or a climate NGO. In a very different way, you've got individuals like, say, Jeremy Gilbert, who suggested this, which is we should be organising tech workers who are working at Google or working at Samsung who are going to be out of a job because of AI soon. So they're on really high salaries and they come from bourgeois backgrounds, but they're the next on the chopping block. What do you make of the idea that who the left is organising, who the left is appealing to, it might not necessarily be the working class as we think about it. And that actually, because material conditions are changing, because of where power lies, it's going to have to be these sections of the elite that we're trying to peel away.
I think you need them all, really, obviously. But first of all, let me say we need also people working with their hands, constructing things, and there must be respect. Builders, for example, we need them. It will be not ChatGPT that is building your factory here. It's not ChatGPT. I saw the people coming here. They have a helmet. They have a yellow jacket. They are building the place, and we need them. They are really, literally building the country in the docks. It's not ChatGPT unloading. Okay, there is a modernization. I know, but first of all, we need still this in industrial labor, and it still exists. Really, sociologically, there's more working class people now than in the area of Karl Marx. There was less. It was peasantry. It was now there's a lot of working class. So I don't buy this post-industrial. So let us organize also just working class people that no one talks about. The people where we are applauded for during COVID, where some people, they are running the whole society. So first of all that, but I do agree, there are strategic points, and one of the strategic points is people who develop the productive forces, the artificial intelligence, because we need these brains of people not to develop AI warfare like they do for Palantir and they do for the occupation and the destruction of Gaza. Because every intellectual will need to appeal your brains. You can study. You have the privilege to study from society. Generations pay for your study. No problem at all. But with that brains, with that collective brains, what are you going to do? Something useful for society, or are you going to enrich Amazon or Palantir and contribute to the dead industry of artificial intelligence? That's a choice we have to put, because the other way around, I think with the development of artificial intelligence and with the productive possibility of artificial intelligence, normally we could create a whole other society. I think what Marx at one point said against the Luddites who were destroying the machines, okay, the machines are not the enemy of working class people. The capitalist use of the machines is the enemy. And I think the artificial intelligence as such is not the enemy, but the capitalist use of artificial intelligence, because it could be used in a whole other manner to develop, to find solutions on medical problems, etc., etc. It could be used in a correct way.
You say that, but I've been thinking about something recently, and I've been thinking a little bit about what's missing from Marxism, right? What's missing from Marxism, and what are the other kinds of ideas that we need as human beings to keep us in touch with our own humanity and to form the basis of a moral system. So not just a political system, but a moral system. Something like AI. There is a part of me, which is a Luddite, which thinks
destroyed.
Destroy, and thinks maybe there is something wrong with humans trying to become God, and like God, trying to create an intelligence. Every myth on the planet, whether it's indigenous myths from the rainforest or the Greeks or Islam or Christianity, says you can't become God. And maybe there's a reason for that. You know what I mean?
No, I do agree. You can't become God. You don't have to play God. I'm a big fan of the Greek gods on their Olympus, and the way they punish creatively every man, every Prometheus who wants to become a god. I do agree, but the name is not correct. It is not intelligence. It's mathematics, and it's parallel and serial development of algorithms, and that's not wrong. It is not wrong to have mathematics and algorithm to try to find better cures to cancer. That is not wrong. It is not wrong to use it to cure diseases in the global south. It is not wrong to search for developments in educational systems. If we could use the productive advances of for example, to install a 3-day week or a 4-day week, we could have more time to liberate ourselves from the prison of, for example, social media, and the prison of our cell phones, and the prison of this entertainment, capitalistic and Hollywood entertainment industry, and this prison of having to react every 2 minutes to an incentive sent by your mobile phone or by your watch or whatever in your ears. I do agree that we have to liberate and having control on time again. The Greeks, they had two gods about time. They had Kairos and Chronos. And capitalism, Chronos is like your watch, is tick, 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 tick. And capitalism used Chronos, the chronometer, to discipline labor. Before, in the Middle Ages, there was no chronos. The peasants, they worked. They had more leisure, the peasants in the Middle Ages, than in capitalism. In capitalism, everything is disciplined. There is the ticking clock, that's chronos. But the Greeks had also the other god, Kairos, and that means the god where you can lose yourself in time, because it's so fast, it's already over, because you are completely in the movie or in your romance or in your football game or whatever, or in your, you lose yourself in time. And capitalism destroyed it all. And so if we could use the productive advance to create more space and time to more kairos, and to lose ourselves again in time to do something productive. In Sweden, there was an experimentation about a 4-day week 10 years ago, and the right wing, they said, well, we know what the people are going to do in Göteborg. They're going to be more on the television, more in the game, etc. The opposite was true. People that had more leisure in the Volvo factory that experimented, and in the hospital, that two different types, they did more. They were more outside. They did more sports. They did more cultural things. So I'm in favor of productive advancement to liberate ourselves a little more kairos instead of chronos.
But I wonder what you think of this. Should the PTB be a 4-day week organization?
That's a good question. That's a tricky question. Of course, no is the answer. Totally.
Why not? Why not? Why shouldn't the left prefiguratively implement the changes it wants to see in society?
No, we should. That's important. One time, Angela Davis came to our festival, and she said, "No, if you don't apply the changes you want to see in society, you can't reach the goal." And so she criticized us, and she was right. And we're doing it with Medics for the People, for example, leading by example, etc. But on the other hand, so globally, I think maybe we could think about it in the PTB, in the Workers' Party of Belgium, to apply this system. But at the end of the day, we need also professionals with all their hearts and all their minds professionally combating this system, and professionally to try to build another system. And that's serious business. I do agree, you can't work yourself crazy. It's not productive at all. You need to be creative. Organizing people, sensitizing people, mobilizing people, these three things needs creativity. And if you're dead already physically, you can't do it. But it's not a leisure thing to do. Your militancy and your engagement to change the world is something very creative and very powerful, but it's serious business.
But I think this is the thing. So Novara is a 4-day week employer, and you're looking. well rested. But I think I'm in the minority because I think that we should work as hard as our enemies do. You know, and that's maybe where I differ from many of my friends and many of our colleagues. Is I think about Dominic Cummings, who used to be Boris Johnson's, chief of staff, his consigliere, and I was like, if he ain't sleeping, I ain't sleeping. You know?
No, but I do. I'm very convinced that you need passion to be successful. You need creativity, but you also need passion. And whether it is in a culture like for example, people making theater, people having a dream to build some kind of theater, in the passion you lose also some time. It is not a 9 to 5 job. You can't put this kind of passion and creativity in a 9 to 5 job. And the more the passion there sometimes you work seven days a week, and then your body says, okay, calm down. You have to listen to your body also. That's important because we need a long term, not a short term. But you can't have this passion only in a 9 to 5 job and saying a Friday at 5 o'clock, okay, we're leaving, and Trump attacks at 7 o'clock, and then you say, no, it doesn't work like that.
I mean, to move on a bit, one of the reasons that I really wanted to talk to you is because the more I learned about the PTB, the more I learned about the Workers' Party of Belgium, the more interested I was in the differences between how you organise yourselves, the sort of foundational principles of your organisation, and the way in which we do things on the British left. So we tend to talk about maximum member democracy. Everyone gets a say on policy and strategic direction. That isn't quite how you guys do it. So what are the differences, and why have you chosen that different way of doing things?
No, we have another birth certificate, and that's also determining the party. Our party was created in the end of the 60s, after the 1968 revolt on the universities from intellectuals, solidarity with Vietnam, solidarity with the Black Panther movement, but also this serve the people idea, having medics for the people, etc. That's one. And then the wildcat strikes at the beginning of the 70s. And then they constructed a Communist Party, which was very, at that time, Leninist at its core, with democratic centralism. And
and for those who don't know, what is democratic centralism?
That's a word a lot of people don't like to hear, but I think you have to understand it well, but it still exists now in another way. I will explain it. But that's an elevator going both ways. And you need both ways, upwards and downwards. You need both, because otherwise it is stuck. And so going, meaning that the base group, for example, still in our party now, there is total democracy. You have spaces, safe spaces, where everyone in the base group has his say or her say, and you create a democratic atmosphere where you really can say yourself. Also shy people having more difficulties to express themselves, to see that those mainly intellectuals, between brackets, that speak too much, that they can't dominate every... So it's organized democracy, but like on subjects for Iran war, for example, there will be all kinds of ideas in these base groups, and there will be a democratic atmosphere. That's the idea. It has to be, but you have to create a democratic atmosphere, because spontaneously the intellectuals will control, the big mouths will control it. So and then all these ideas has elevator going to the leadership in different levels. And then one time the ideas come together, there is a decision to be made, and it's the majority decision. And then everyone sticks to the majority decision. That's a difficult point, because discipline's really important to you. And then
guys.
And that's the elevator going top down, and the elevator down to the top, and then the elevator top down. And that makes this two-way direction of the elevator, that's democracy and centralism, and it works. If it's only centralism, it's authoritarian. I'm really against authoritarian centralism. Like I'm really against only base level horizontal democracy. I don't believe in it because I've seen a lot of organizations ending in yes. Endless discussion without decisions, etc. And then at the end of the day, behind the curtains, someone who is not elected takes a decision because he controls the social media, because he controls the press releases, or I don't. So I'm more in favor of an elected leadership that can be destituted because we can at all time. But it's clear. There is I'm in favor of leadership, but not a lifelong leadership, not an authoritarian leadership, a leadership that should be criticized, a leadership that should be elected and destituted, etc. But the victories of the working class and of the 20th and 19th century in the global south, and there's nothing against leadership. There is against bureaucratic leadership, yes. Against totalitarian leadership, yes. Against conspirational leadership, yes, but democratic leadership, we need good leaders, please. We need them.
How do you stop middle-class people like me with sharp elbows taking over a party?
No, but we need sharp ideas. We need, first of all, in a party, we need creativity, and we need also people. They need to say what they want to say. We need no yes nodding people in all the party need not and party democracy need to be constructed from different ideas. But
you know how middle class people like get to the front of things.
Yeah. And that's a problem. And the first of all, democratic atmosphere, very important. If you have a base group like in a neighbor in a borough or in a neighborhood like here, and there's 15 people in this base group want to engage themselves, seeing each other each month. And then there is you taking the lead, and maybe some shy people, and maybe some people not saying a lot of thinking, I'm not that smart, because class society tells if you don't have graduates or I don't know, you're not that smart. The one who is leading the base group has to see, okay, now you shut up, Ash, and now he's speaking, now she's speaking. And if maybe after the meeting, etc., talking with the people, you're a little bit shy, how can you help you? Emancipation is also giving trust to people, etc. And that's very important. And that can resolve already a lot of things inside, empower people. And then also in our party, for example, we have a lot of attention of class in the party also, like
we have a separate leadership program for people without degrees, as I understand it.
Exactly. And so to give them trust, to have majority spaces on class basis, to have them in the leadership, and it's very, very important because they were taught all our life, that's a class society, that's okay, people with a university degree, they know better, they know everything, and it's very difficult to say something against Peter, etc., etc. He's a nice guy, but he's too smart, etc. And then in this majority space, no, your opinion matter. You're in this factory or you're in this cleaning industry, etc. And your opinion matter. You're on an equal level on the voting level of we need your opinion, and we're gonna help to express your opinion, etc. And it's also the atmosphere. I think also to be democratic is that you can be criticized. That's also some people think in this society to be criticized. That's very, very bad. But to learn to people that positive criticism makes you stronger, that's an educational process. And it is like that. Like maybe after this interview, Hille will say, this part, Peter, was good. This part, Peter, was very bad. You can... And I will learn something from that. It's not an attack on my personality. And in the party, it's like that. If there's a problem, like if you in every base group meeting, Ash, are taking every space, one time the leadership of is going, Ash, we will have a coffee, and then say, Ash, you're taking too much space and that's to not to criticize you and to demolish you, but to make you a more democratic, better person in this kind of thing. And so that's also important that people can see, okay, leadership can be criticized.
Well, I mean, is there a bit of a generational difference here? Because I feel like I'm more sensitive to criticism than people older than me. And I think people younger than me are even more sensitive to criticism than I am. You know, how do you sort of create a shared culture, create a shared culture where people can obviously learn from each other. I'm not saying that every baby boomer has got a healthy attitude to relationships and emotional expression, but I also don't think that millennials and Gen Z have always a healthy attitude to emotions and self-regulation. How do you bring people together where there might be some really different assumptions of what good communication is, what bad communication is?
No, for us, the organizational process, so on the base, we are organized in base groups. Every month there is a meeting, like in a neighborhood, a base group of a village. We come together, we have the same goal, we have a discussion what campaign we are, and there's also always a nationwide campaign, like Solidarity with Palestine, for example, but also a local campaign, and that's decided by the base group. Mostly they decided by doing a survey in the neighborhoods. What do you think is the most important issue in your neighborhood? Is it housing? Is it the public transport? Whatever. And then there is a campaigning, and the shared experiences of people coming in action are discussed on this base group. And the fact that you start from doing something and discussing on the base of the practice of the people, that creates already a common ground. It's not a talking group. Our dialectics is practice, theory, practice. And the goal is to change the things. The goal is not to change the theory. And on the graveyard of Marx, it's the 13th thesis of Feuerbach. Philosophers have interpreted the world, but the goal is to change the world. And so practice, theory, practice, and the fact that you're doing something together with other people to save the local swimming pool, for example, from privatization, and we are waging campaign and having a referendum and etc. And how did it work out with you? And then you have a coffee together, and the fact that you're starting there on the base of practice, that's the first thing, and that makes that there's an openness to listen to other people. It's not a theoretical thing. It's not a theoretical group. It's not a psychological group. We are not a mindfulness.
Group therapy, mindfulness.
Yeah. We're not like that. Okay, it's healthy, but the goal is to change the things. And then you're equal, because maybe there's some professor, we have in some sections, some professors with cleaning ladies in the same sections. And in the beginning, people look up to the professor in the same base group. But and then person A have more petitions than the professor, being proud, etc. No, it's small things like that, and it matters.
I mean, you mentioned this already, but I'm interested in the role of discipline. So once a line has been taken, everyone publicly has to abide by it.
Yeah.
In my experience, everyone wants other people to shut up. They find it much more difficult for themselves to do the shutting up. How do you bring everyone on board with the necessity of discipline, especially when we live in such a discursive world, right? We're always on WhatsApp, we're always on social media, we're always sharing our opinions vocally. How do you get people to see the value of discipline?
I think it's in our organizational culture, and also to see the disasters if you don't do it. Because it means also that there's a strength, like when October 7th occurred, obviously there was an attack on every progressive in the world to condemn, etc. The week after, we had a discussion, and so we had the base groups coming together, the opinions, etc. The majority say, okay, it didn't start at October 7th, and we can't only condemn, etc. There's also the right to resistance, etc. Even the week after October 7th was. And then we decided on this basis, majority, okay, we are not going, our first reaction is not condemnation. We decided that. It was not easy. We will condemn the Israeli apartheid and the Israeli aggression. It was not, in the bourgeois media, not popular at all.
Yeah.
But we decided it. And it went rather well, but people agree also in our party, also people that had defended the other position, that once you decide that, you have to speak with one voice, because otherwise the enemy is trying to set some people against other people, etc. In other bourgeois parties, I don't know what's the case in England, I think it's the same, but in the press, there's a one faction fighting with the other faction, and people are really fed up with it, with all this rows publicly. And the bourgeois press is also always trying to find some difficulties in the parties, and so there's also a natural protection shield that, okay, inside the kitchen we say we have a row, but in the dining room we're on one line. We're defending the plate.
Yeah.
We're serving. We're not saying, okay, maybe more mushrooms here, maybe more sausage. No, we're defending the plate in the dining room. In the kitchen, we have our, but the kitchen is not a public place. We have no. If you let the press inside your kitchen, if you let the press inside every debate, the press will also influence your debate, because obviously they won't be at the table to say, no, you don't have to condemn. Obviously, they will try to influence pro-imperialists, pro-capitalists. So,
Well, I mean, as I understand it, is that you guys are very keen on a vertical transmission of information, so from bottom to the top and top to the bottom,
yeah,
but not a horizontal flow of information. You know, there's control in the flow of information.
Yeah, on the basic, let's be clear. Obviously, every section in its local action, it's the section that decides. Obviously, it's not the national leadership that's going to decide what on things on public bus stops of swimming pools or whatever actions that's people in the local sections or the factory sectors are raising. No, it's on the national campaigns and on the big issues, etc. If our position is we are not in favor to arms delivery to Ukraine, that's our position. There's no section that can say, "Oh, we are in favor of doing that." No, they can't say that. That's after the debate. Once a decision is taken, our official position is not in favor of arms delivery. That's the official position of the party.
What are the issues which have had the most debate or the most division? What are the ones that maybe you struggled to contain within?
We are on some decisions we let the discussion open, and that's not easy. Because, like for example, depenalization of soft drugs. Huh? This kind, we have no official position. We are kind of depenalization, some for legalizing soft drugs. We're saying that's not our main topic, and maybe a next Congress will decide after hearing a lot of expertise and a lot of beige groups having a position on this issue. Till now, it's more an open debate. We're saying, okay, we're not going to take one decision because it's so divided into the party. We try also to take decisions not only majority, minority, but with the most unification possible. So if we see that the subject is 50-50, normally we don't decide inside the party. We don't believe that the summit of democracy is 50-50. There's a summit of division, 50-50. Normally, to try to create a unity and that's really democracy, because then you have to be dialectic, taking one decision but also taking into account the arguments of the other party, etc. Taking a dialectical decision is much more unifying people than always being in the 50-50. If there is a 50-50 subject, normally we don't take a decision, or we take more time to listen to arguments or to try to give some arguments, etc. That's our vision.
I mean, I'm really interested in the fact that there isn't just one kind of membership to the party. You have supporters, you've got members, and you've got militants. And there are different expectations of each group. And so militants are subject to wage caps. So it's not just your MPs, it's your militants. How does that work?
No, we have globally, so three levels of three-tier level of the party, and the militants. Well, in other parties called cadres, but it's a large group of militants. They all live normally on an average wage gap of 2,400 euro a month. They do agree. There are some exceptions, etc.
And like what percentage of your membership is doing that roughly?
No, so we have 25,000 members, 20,000, I think, supporting members, card-carrying members. We will explain it. 5,000 organized members in base group, and from these 5,000 members, I would say 800, 6, 7, 800 will be militants. Yeah.
And so, how do you take someone on that journey from supporter to organized member to militant? What does that involve?
Yeah, so the militants are people calling themselves communists for socialist society. So it's an engagement. They say, okay, I want to go for this engagement in my life, and so they are the responsible, the core of the party. The Marxist core of is the militants. Then the base groups, as people saying, okay, it's a modern Marxist party, I want to become a Marxist, etc. It's a journey inside the party. And so in this base group, you become active, very important for us, practice, theory, practice, and not the other way around. You have some, and then there is also a study program in the base group. Every base group, there's also a political discussion, like, for example, obvious things like the war against Iran now, and lately it's a lot of international topics, but it's also, of course, the Belgian class struggle, the struggle against the pensions, the Arizona government, etc., and how to organize the resistance against this government. This kind of things is discussed in every base group in the country. Why? It unifies also base groups. So base groups are having their local campaigns, but the fact that, for example, they also, every base group have a half an hour discussion about one topic on the pension, it means if every base group in the country does this, it unifies also political. In the contrary, if you don't do it, you can have base groups in all directions drifting away from the core of the party. So that's why we do it. And then some in the base groups, there is also ABCs of Marxism, we call them. People can subscribe to that and follow some meetings about Marxism and then become a militant.
I mean, I'm really interested in this idea that in progressing through the party and on that journey to becoming a militant, the political expectations that are on you, it really shifts the idea of what's public, what's private, what's political, and what's personal. Is part of this, to put it crudely, about killing the liberal that lives inside your head?
Yeah, it's just, okay, we will try to have a passion. I think the first generation that created the party, they had really problems, so we can discuss on it. But the fact, for example, the medics that created medicine for the people, it did not exist. And it was a complete crazy idea because there was classical medical doctors medics in the country. They were... They asked a lot of money. They were working too fast, etc. And then some young people, 18, 19, 20, maybe 23 years old, they said, we're going to create a completely other system of medical care in Belgium. And they were maybe 30, 40 people saying that. But to create this completely mad dream of another system, they had to have a passion, and they worked harsh, and they created medical houses, and they asked their parents money to create these houses and to pay the rent, and they asked the people in the neighborhoods, weekend is Labor Day, and to construct literally the medical houses. It was a passion, because if you don't have this passion to build something else, you can't succeed. It is not a 9-to-5 job, and you don't have to participate. No problem at all. But if you participate, there's an engagement, and of course everyone is different, and there is. By the way, an important thing is everyone's personal life is also important, and everyone's personal health is also important. But the engagement, to engage yourself, to change the society, is to change this oppressive, imperialist, barbaric society. Yeah, it needs some time and creativity. It's not the fifth hobby after ballet and theater, and then the fifth. You can't run an organization if it's on the fifth place in the leadership. It's not possible.
I mean, when I'm talking to you and I'm sat across from you, I sort of feel like this sense of political purpose, right? The historic mission of socialism in our lifetimes. You seem happy. It seems like it gives you a sense of like life, and it's like, I'm waking up every day because I want socialism in my lifetime. Like, is a part of this about expanding the idea of human flourishing, eudaimonia, sort of away from liberal norms of, personal wealth, personal freedoms, personal happiness. And it's about, okay, I feel most myself and most human when I'm part of a shared collective project with other people.
No, exactly. I think I was the first of my family that had the opportunity to study. And my mother, she said, never forget where you're from. And I really enjoyed to study. I really was a big family. My father was 13 and my mother also. So I have a big family on both sides. And I was the first of my generation to be able to study. And I enjoyed to learn things. I learned a lot at the party. And the fact that when I learned some things, I wanted to share. I had the feeling I have no right to keep it for myself. Why should I? I didn't know some things, and now I know some things, and I want to share this information. And I still have it, and collectively we have it. How to understand militarization of society, how to understand what's happening in West Asia and Middle East, etc. When you study and when you learn and when you talk with people from Iran and left people from Gaza, etc. When we speak with Palestinians, etc. I learn something and I want to share that. I'm seeing the news and I'm seeing all the rubbish on the news and I'm angry and I want to share the other story of it. And that's I can't have it for my own. That's not liberation. And secondly, we want to win, Ash. The party changed. We want to win. There's a lot of leftist organization and I see them and I think, but really, do you want to win or not? That's just like in a football team or another hobby. If you want to win, okay, we're going to take some things professionally. We go
very personal because I support Tottenham Hotspur and we keep losing. So.
I would say, okay.
I was gonna be like wrong metaphor.
Wrong metaphor. No. Okay. you have to have a soul and inspiring leadership that wants to win, and that's harsh. And if you keep doing the things that have no result at all. We had some traditions also in the party, and we said, why? Because it's no result at all. We were selling the papers, our newspaper, and at the factory every morning. And it was and I said, why? I understand, but we didn't sell a lot of papers. I said, why? There must be other ways to reach to people. I'm not against selling the paper, don't get me wrong. But this tradition, without that anyone says, what are we gaining, especially with all this doing? It's more a ritual than an effective strategy. And maybe it's taboo for some people. I'm not against selling papers, but I'm really in favor of really reflecting what's a social media strategy, what's a media strategy, what's a spokesman and spokeswomen strategy. Be smart about the media as it is today. Who is your spokesman? Who is your spokeswoman? Can he inspire people? Our Raoul Hedebauer, our president of the party, and Jos Daze, the most popular TikTok politician in Belgium, etc. We are proud that we have the most... and that's more... Like with Jos Daze, popular on TikTok, we are reaching youth people, etc. We never reach with selling the paper. And so continue to think and really, we have to win, yeah.
I mean, I want to come back to the coalition, right? The coalition that you're putting together and how you reflect it. So, very quick question. The party literature, the leaflets, do you put young, hot people of color? Or do you put older, white working class guys losing their hair, right? Which part of the coalition do you reflect? on the party literature, and why?
Well, very, very interesting question. The last period, the last 4 years, we're seeing the second thing, more diverse women, etc. And then we had a discussion exactly on that topic and said, no, we need both. We can't have, because that's the same thing about the big city party only of the broader party. And so in our reflection, we try to have both. And we have literally a discussion about it. It has to be diverse. It has to be diverse on all, but there has to be classical builders with bellies on the leaflet. No, it is like that to reach some people.
And how do you build trust
And
between
not
people?
stock photos.
Oh, yeah,
real
not stock
photos.
photos.
No, okay, very important.
Oh, yeah, stock photos. You can always tell when it's a stock photo.
Totally, you can smell it.
Yeah, because someone's always smiling at something that they shouldn't be smiling at. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like they're holding a pineapple. Like, I don't know, how are you doing that? But how do you build trust between parts of the coalition where, you know, there has been histories of racism or class snobbery or, you know, I always say because half of my family, you know, white, working class from the north, they think we're snobs, we think they're racist, and we're both right. And you start from that position of low trust and suspicion. I hear the point about building trust through doing things together, learning you can win, learning you can organize. But how do you also mediate conflict?
Wow, okay. I know get to know each other is a very important thing, and it's a first step. Like in where I live, the base group in the left bank in Antwerp, for example, is completely diverse, and there is builders, very white, blue collar class builders, but there's also an Indian Sikh with a turband coming from the Communist Party of India, Marxists. There's people coming from the Nepalese left in Antwerp, etc. And one day, after 2 years, I was distributing leaflets with the Indian comrades, and we said, okay, we're going to drink a coffee. And I asked, I'm ashamed of it, but asked after 2 years, his story. Wow. He was telling about what's his story. And then we had a discussion, okay, we need also in our party that there is this rich experience of people, and we need time also that people can tell them stories, their own stories, their stories as a Docker, third generation Dockers, and the Docker strikes in I'm very proud, but also the other people, and get to know each other. This is a step you can't, you have to organize, and okay, there are some discussions. Okay, it's a majority discussions, and on more sensitive subjects like religion, we take our time, and we take our time to listen also. Maybe that's also in one day we said, okay, listening is the first revolutionary act, and listening really meaning listening, because there's a lot of communication without people listening. They ask a question, but they are not listening to the answer. Listening to the answer is you ask something on some and you try to, what's your reflection? It's not to get, it's to get to know you and the way you're thinking and the way you're argument, and to see why some subjects are that important for you. Why it's religion, and because you're in the Marxist Party, and why do you think that religion is important for you? I can have an opinion on that, but it's not about me. Then I'm asking Ash, why it's important for you, and that's that kind of attitude we're trying to promote. It's not always easy, and sometimes, to be clear, we have a lot of rows and we have a lot of problems in the Workers' Party of Belgium. It's not an ideal party at all, and it's a party, a human party of flesh and blood, and rows and things that go wrong, terribly wrong, and defeats also, but the best party of Belgium, of course.
What advice do you have for Zack Polanski, leader of the Greens, riding high in the polls?
I don't know. I think the situation here, there is something happening now, because I was raised with the idea, okay, you have a two-party system in the UK, and there will be Labour and Conservatives forever. And now we're in this time frame where at the same time Labour is not popular, if I understand well, and the alternative is not popular at all. So there's a special time where the Greens are filling a gap, where independent candidates are filling a gap, and where there will be potential in I saw Zack Polanski at the World Transformed Festival, and how he speaks about socialism. The Belgian Greens, they don't speak about socialism. How he was against NATO. In the continental Greens, they are not against NATO. The German Greens, for example, they are a very warmongering party. So it was a new kind of green party I learned to know at the World Transformed. So I hope he will and the Green Party will continue this kind of orientation. I'm in favor. I think there is also a socialist possibility in Great Britain. How to construct, I don't know. It's a it's complex. It's your own situation, but there will be other momentums. I really am convinced that we are in turmoil, and in silent times, everything is going very, very slowly. But in turmoil times, it is like Naomi Klein described in her book, that things can change very rapidly. And then if there is good ideas and good organization, they can grow also very rapidly, like the Greens do today. But there will be other possibilities for socialist forces, I do think.
I was talking to someone at the World Transform Festival who's from the Belgian Workers Party, and they were struck by how quickly we try and do things in the UK. And when we were talking about your party, Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, and we were talking about the Belgian Workers Party, I think they said, well, we gave birth to a mouse and then the mouse grew slowly, and you were trying to give birth to an elephant all at once. Do you think that there is something to be said for growing more slowly but very deliberately and consciously versus the kind of almost mania that I would say in the UK, we're all manic-depressives, right? We go from, we're all running into this thing and we feel amazing. Oh no, it's gone wrong. We have a period of depression, and then we're going for it again. Is there something to be said for going, the world feels very urgent and things move very quickly, but you need to take time?
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm really impressed. We can have a whole other discussion on China, for example. But I'm really impressed the way they conceive time and the way they construct things on 5 years and 10 years. That's amazing, and I think the world needs it because it's going that mad and that hectic. And in the morning, Trump threatens to destroy a civilization, and 24 hours later he says we're going to negotiate on the 10-point plan of the Iranians, exactly the opposite. And it's a madhouse, and then in this madhouse, having people that think on 1, 2, 3, 4 years, we need it. We really need it. And if you want to construct something serious, you have to think on 1, 2, 3, 4 years at least to construct something. It can go. I think it can go much more fast than in our, because we started in very silent times. In turmoil, it can go faster. But the thinking part, it will take 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and you need that. You can't avoid. And to think in 1, 2, 3, 4 years doesn't mean you think and then you do nothing. No, that's not. You have to organize. Like for 29, for example, a strategy to build something, and you will have to start now. I do think so to build, and then it can go. If the base of this the fundamentals of this new possibility and organization are let well, then in 29, 2030, it can go very fast. But you have to take time. 2, 3, 4 years. That's serious business, and it has to be apt and rooted in the reality of the UK. It's UK people that have to do it. No one else can do it. But yeah, I do agree that it also gives some rest, because otherwise, if you're only seeing the next week or the next month, it makes you out of breath because you're running from here to there, from here to there, but you're constructing nothing at all. Hey, having a little bit, okay, this is our way. Our goal is to construct to 29 this kind of thing, etc. Gives also a rest. It doesn't mean that you don't have to work hard, but you can relative. It's more easy to say that's not important, that's important, etc. And we need it.
You've talked about the listening exercises that the PTB do, so street, council, street.
Exactly.
And I would say in the UK, there is a majority that you can put together that wants left wing on the economy and right wing on immigration. They want low immigration and they want, tax and spend, dealing with economic inequality. And if you go knocking on the doors, whether it's in a diverse working class area like mine in Tottenham, or whether it's in a more white working class area in the North and Midlands, that's what people will say. How do you, I guess, honor what people are saying to you, whilst at the same time holding principles which might be unpopular, like more workers' rights for migrants?
Exactly, very important. That's why in our renewal process, we had three axes, very important: principled party, flexible party, party of the working class. This is the three magic axes of our party. And the main thing is the principled party. We have a vision. We have an emancipatory vision. And in our vision, there is popular things: healthcare for all, education for all, etc. It's popular. Who's against it? Maybe Elon Musk, etc. but majorities. But there's also things that are not popular. Like in Belgium out of NATO is not popular. Anti-racism is not popular with all strata. Some strata, yes, with all strata, etc. But that's our principle. Our emancipatory view on society is that without war and with equal rights for everyone and emancipation for everyone. So we're not going to change, but being flexible and going door to door. We're hearing that in some, and it means that we need some more time. How to explain? We are not going in confrontation on every subject on every time at the same time. It's impossible to win. That's like teenagers playing football. With 11 attacking and run. That's not a fucking strategy to win. No, that's attacking and defending on the same time. No, some people have to etc. So we don't change our strategy, but we take sometimes in some neighborhoods where there's more extreme right influence and racist influence to educate people, to bring people together, to have. We don't go confrontational on every level. We don't change. Everyone in Belgium knows we are an anti-racist party, but we are not like school teachers in saying you can't do this and you can't. People are disgusted by this kind of arrogant middle-class school teachers saying what to do, what's right and what not. Because at the same time, we understand also the rage, because if we're going door to door, we're trying to say, and some people say, okay, my mother is now 15 months on the waiting list for a healthcare home, and there is a Syrian family. They came in 2 weeks ago, and they have already a new home. Then we learn our people and say, okay, if I understand well, the main problem is the place for your mother and not a Syrian family. That's the main problem. And so we're going to solve your main problem. Your main problem is socio-economic. Your mother has no place. And then the solution is not to kick out the Syrian family, but the solution is to have more health places, etc., etc. It doesn't work always, but to try to let people see that the main problem is upstairs and not downstairs, that's an action point we do. But take time and understand. Don't go yelling, "You fucking racist" at the door. That's not convincing anyone. Even if some expressions are racist, even if some expressions are sexist or neo-colonialist, it does exist, but our goal is to change. Maybe there's a small core of fascists you can't change, I know, but the goal is a lot of people are misled by the far right, and it is like it is. That's a situation of consciousness among people, and you can't romanticize this kind of thing. And in our goal, people, if they have trusts, if they see, okay, they are serious guys and girls, they do the medics for the people, they are not filling their pockets in parliament.
Yeah. They put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, and they're speaking truth to power in parliament. People, the other parties, they call it populistic because we were speaking truth to power, power in the parliament. But it is necessary also to show that we are not like all the other parties.
Yeah, you're not assholes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got one last question for you, because there are going to be people watching this who want to feel politically empowered. And I think that lots of people feel, I want to do this. I'm scared that I don't know how, that I don't have the self-knowledge. I don't know how to cultivate these character traits necessary to do it. If you were writing a self-help book called How to Be a Good Marxist, what would be in there?
For us, there's three elements that has to come together, I think, in the empowerment of yourself, and also the empowerment of yourself as a part of a larger common goal. And the two goes hand in hand, and that is education. You need some time to educate, and you can educate by studying. Studying is important. It frees the mind to understand what's happening. It's not all accidental things that's happening. That there's a line in understanding the world makes you more at ease, and it's liberating. So study, organizing, doing things together, collective, is very important. There's also a safe space, not in a really empowering, that you have some space with other comrades, with other people fighting the same goal and saying, what I hear about Trump, it is crazy. It's not me that's crazy. It's Trump that's crazy. It's Netanyahu that's crazy. The fact that Palestine solidarity is forbidden in the UK, that is crazy. It's not me that's crazy. And the situation and the fact that you can discuss with others. So organization to do some things together, and mobilizing. So to become active. These three things together is the most important. Study, organize, mobilize, and then you can change the world as a part of a larger identity.
Peter Mertens, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
So we went all over. We threw it together.
Yeah.